Hello everyone. Good afternoon. I am Junaid Abdul Jabbar and working as a database developer for mapping archaeological heritage in South Asia project, which is based at University of Cambridge and is generously funded by Arcadia. So I'm going to talk about SQL data import option for Arches. I presented a version of this in one of the developer meetings. So apologies if you are listening again. Um, Jumping straight into it, uh, as we all know, over the last few years, there have been several feature additions and enhancements to Arches. So now there are quite a few bulk data import options available to select from, which based on user requirements. So these include CSV import, which requires a structured CSV, and then it can be imported through command line using import business data command. There is shapefile import, which is very similar to CSV with a few exceptions, like it needs the geometries in WGS84, unique column for identifier, things like this. Then we have JSON import, which is primarily intended for transferring business data between Arches instances. So each of these has its own uh, limitations and uses. But these first three options were available when we started working with Arches a few years back on Arches version 5.1. And I think with the release of version 6.2, if I remember that correctly, SQL import was made available for the first time, which offers much more flexible and faster data import and is especially useful when we are migrating data from a SQL database into Arches. Um, and more recently, there is a availability of bulk data manager, which provides user interface tools which administrators can use to import and update uh, large data sets in Arches. So to use any of these options, we need data. And for Masa, this is coming from the documentation of archaeology and cultural heritage of Indus River Basin and surrounding areas, which cover most part of Pakistan and Northwest India. So we are dealing with some quite complex site records which have attribute and location variations. For example, in this map here, you can see the same site is reported by different researchers and has different locations. Even some of the recent ones with good GPS accuracy are documenting different coordinates. The actual location is documented by Singh et al. 2008. So when we were trying to clean this data and collate all this information, we tried a number of data formats, including bulk data sheets, geo packages, but we realized that there was a need for a collaborating working environment with GIS capabilities, where our team could reference multiple layers to see different data attributes and do the collation. For that, we deployed a centralized instance of Postgres, and top of it, we made a QGIS data entry form, which has the information as we would record in the resource model. Um, and This has allowed us to capture all that information from different data sources. And in order to capture that information, our resource model also got quite rich and also has nested multiples. So for example, heritage location resource, one heritage location can have multiple condition assessments, and then each of these can have multiple disturbance states. So now having a instance of Postgres, a SQL database, and then nested resource model set it up us nicely to use the SQL import option, because the CSV file has a limitation of importing any data which is of one-to-many cardinality. So it was quite useful for us. And in order to use that, we wanted to access the data from our Postgres instance in a dynamic and real-time way from Arch's backend Postgres. To do that, we have set up a foreign data wrapper, which can be done using Postgres FDW extension. Then you can create a server and user mapping, and then we can create foreign tables using import foreign schema to do this in a dynamically real time without making any copy of the data. Having all of this in place, now we can set up our relational views. So basically, SQL import is also known as relational schema. What it does is that it makes a relational schema for your resource models. So there are two ways basically. If you are using the first set of query, there's a function arches create resource model views. And you can create resource relational views for all of the graphs that are published, um, skipping the arches system settings. Or if we want to create the relational views for a particular resource model, we can specify its unique universal ID, and it will create relational schema for that resource model. So this is the UUID of our heritage education resource model. When this query is executed successfully, it will add a new schema in Arch's backend Postgres, which would look, uh, so basically it has like 45 views, and it maintains the integrity of parent-child relationships. Um, so once we have this, now we need to import data into these views. To do that, there is a bunch of SQL. I've tried to keep it light touch, but I can show how we can import data for different data types. So each resource model schema will have a view of known as instances. And if you have uh, it has two columns, resource instance ID and legacy ID. If you have worked with a CSV import, you know we can specify the legacy ID using the resource ID column in CSV. And then Archie on the backend assigns the resource instance ID automatically. So over here, we are populating both of these things. We are getting this data from foreign table of HL resources, and the values that we are getting are UUID value and then the master ID, which is the legacy ID. We will see the importance of these two when we have look at the resource instance import example in one of the next slides. Um, Looking at the string data import, so with Arch's internationalization release in V7, all of the string data is now stored as a JSON-B data type, which includes the language key and then the value of the string, and also the direction. Like this is English, then value is Amberwell, and direction is left to right. So in our case, if there are more languages like Hindi and Urdu, so the JSON object would look something like this. Hindi is also left to right, and then Urdu is right to left. So in order to make these JSON objects, we can write the query again and again for each of the branches, or we can create a function that is reusable. So this function is just a custom function which is named as build lang JSON, and it takes text value and then the language code to return the Archie's compatible JSON format. So a full query to import a string data set would look like this. We have an insert block, and it has style ID, name, name type, which is commented out for now, and then the resource instance ID. For tile ID, we can use the Postgres UUID generate for function to have some unique universal IDs. Then the name is being converted into JSON using this function. We are getting the name from foreign table HL name, and these are English values just for now. And resource instance ID is same that we populated in the instances view, so that Arch knows which resource this data is related to. So as you can see, name type is commented out here because name type is a concept and data type in the resource model. And in order to import data for it, Arches requires the UUID for that concept rather than the value. So if the data has primary name, it would expect us to give it the value ID for it in the tile data. And we can create this lookup using, again, a set of functions, which takes the name of the schema, heritage location. This would be the name of your resource model in Arches Designer. Then we have the view name. This is the name of branch in Arches Designer. Then we have the column name type, which would be a node in the Arches Designer. So it would create a lookup table like this, and using the uh, with clause, we can create a temporary lookup set to get that lookup table. And then when we try to import data for name type, here we are trying to match the strings with the values and getting their unique universal IDs, which are then acceptable by Arches. So looking at the resource instance, the Arches again has a specific format it expects the resource instance data to be in. It is the JSON array, which has resource ID of the resource that we want to create the relation to. Now you can notice this is a UUID over here. In previous version of Arches, where there was no resource instance node, we could use legacy ID over here, which would be much simpler and human readable, for example, masa01. But in resource instance node, Arches expect us to give it the UUID that is assigned by Arches to that masa01 resource. So we need to get that. Then we have the ontology property, the forward ontology property. This is the relationship ID, which is automatically assigned by Arches. And then we have inverse ontology property. And this is acceptable by Arches. So in order to get this, we can again use the with clause to make a temporary lookup set. Basically, in an example where we want to relate a heritage location resource with some another resource from the person organization resource model, we can get the resource instance ID and legacy ID from that one. And we have to populate it in the assessor node, which is the resource instance type. And then we basically, just like concepts, we get the UUID for that particular legacy ID and assign it to resource ID key. We build a JSON object and then just JSON array, and insert it into the relevant relational view. So it also allows, this was one of the major challenges for us when we were starting to work, that CSV import had a limitation of importing nested multiples. And then there was JSON import available, but as the documentation says, it's not very user friendly, but it's doable. But we still thought SQL pipeline was a better way because it allows us to dynamically pull updates from our other instance of Postgres. So in order to do that parent-child import, we need to keep track of parents. So in an example, I said our heritage location resource model can have multiple condition assessments, and then each condition assessment can have multiple recommendation types. So over here, we need to import tile ID. And in the name example, if you remember, we were assigning tile ID using the UUID generate for function, which was just giving it UUIDs in real time. But over here, we need to keep track of these UUIDs. So we are populating this from a column that's pre-populated with UUIDs. This is named as condition assessment parent tile ID. So when we keep track of this, we can pass the same values to the children so that they get linked with this parent correctly. So we populate the condition assessment parent like this, and then looking at the child, which is the heritage location condition recommendation. There is a node for condition assessment, which basically contains the information for the parent, and we pass condition assessment parent tile ID. And then there is no limit to how many multiples you have or how much level of nesting you have, but you just need to keep track of these parent-child IDs, and the data would load correctly in Arches. Finally, looking at the geometries, we have a branch known as geographic location, which has a node of GeoJSON feature collection. This one spatial coordinates geometry. And this basically accepts the geometry data type from Postgres, so there is no need to convert it into a WKT format. The data we are using is already in WGS84, so we can just use that geometry to populate this data. And once you have populated all of this data, we need to run this function select static from refresh GeoJSON geometries. Without this, the points would not be available visible on the Arches map canvas. So we need to run this function when we have imported all of this data. So now there is some more examples that are quite useful. I am not going to talk about these, because I think it will be too much SQL. But I have included those in the presentation anyway, if anyone is interested to have a look at it. And I am happy to share the link of this presentation. So there is a function for concept list. This is a custom function. Then we have a example how to import concept list. Then we have an example of how to import resource instance list, again with some of the example. And there is some example of how to import URL. If anyone is interested, they can look at these slides and test it for themselves. And finally, when you write all of your SQL queries, you can execute these. And if you're lucky enough and have no errors, then you can index the data in Arches. So these are just some screenshots from sample data imported using this pipeline. We have some points and polygon geometries along with search listing. We can see the resource relationship graph with all the relationship types. And then this is just a report view with some concept types, some string data and concept data imported. So SQL pipeline, SQL import option has some of advantages and some limitations, like as you must have seen that it requires quite a lot of understanding of the resource model structure to keep to write queries for the different data types and also maintain the parent-child hierarchies, and it also requires the knowledge of SQL, but it provides much greater control over data input. We can do insert, update, or deletion for single branches or even nodes if there is any error or we need to update. Then the most important thing for us was it can import nested multiples. It's quite fast. You need to spend some time on writing the SQL queries and functions, but once they are ready and if there are no changes in the resource model, you can just reuse it and it works really fast. However, it does require a higher level of data validation checks. So you need to make sure if there is any particular type of error in your data, if there are concepts which have changed over time. So we need to write some checks for those. And it also can only mark the data as authoritative. So there is no provision to mark that as provisional because it's just insertion of data from the backend. So that's one of the limitations. So yeah, that's all from my side. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions and share the presentation if anyone is interested to use it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, do we have any questions? I guess if we do have overlap with the technical people here, that some of those may have been answered already. But anything new? Any more comments? Yes, George, go for it.
I can always ask a question. So in order to do this work, you need to know the data model and you need to know SQL. That was a point you made at the end. Do you imagine in principle that one could write a piece of code, just say, well, examine the data model. Okay, like it has this structure, this is cardinality, whatever, and then generate the SQL for it in principle?
Yeah, I think that it could be done because it's already there are functions which are translating your resource model into a relational schema. So there is some level of work there, but I think it would depend how you are trying to load data in it. For example, in our case, we are pulling everything for the foreign data wrapper. So maybe it can generate some select some insert part, but you would definitely need to specify how you want to select the data that you have to insert into it and maybe specify. So I think there is room for some kind of semi-automation to generate that SQL script, but eventually you'll need to make some final adjustment.
Makes sense. Thank you.